Santa Clara Convention Center at Cloud Expo, and I am joined today by Margaret Dawson, VP of Product Management at HubSpan. Welcome, Margaret.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. So we were talking a little bit earlier about, there's still a lot of confusion around cloud. So what would you say are some of those big issues there?
Well, I think first of all that a lot of people are starting with looking at the cloud instead of the solution. And so, ironically, the first thing I tell a lot of people is don't buy the cloud. And that might sound funny considering we're at a huge show that's, people are spending tens of thousands of dollars to talk about cloud. But what I mean by that is don't start with the discussion of cloud. And a lot of people have CIOs or CEOs that are coming to them and saying, we need to get to the cloud, this needs to be strategic. And the problem with that is it's starting with the wrong question. So you still need to do what you've done all along, is what is our technical challenges? What are the business challenges that our company is facing? And then look at solutions that solve that problem. If one of those happens to be an as-a-service solution or a cloud solution, then great, then evaluate that with the same way you would evaluate any solution, whether it's on-premise or the cloud, and start with that discussion.
Okay, and define for us what you mean by business integration in the cloud.
Okay, so what HubSpan does, we actually, you could say B2B integration or business integration, and this is really where a company needs to exchange information or messaging with a community outside of their company. Okay. So for example, it might be customers. You might have 100, 1,000 customers that you need to exchange procurement information with, right? Maybe these customers are shopping from your online store. And what happens is everybody has different security policies, they have different business processes, business rules, and applications and systems within their infrastructure. What we do is mediate between all those different systems and allow everyone to play the way they want to play and still exchange information in real time.
Okay, great. And touching on the security topic a little bit, more in depth, would you say that there's still, an apprehension from companies because of security issues?
Yeah, and I think what's interesting is that before people have actually decided to use a cloud-based solution, their biggest issue is, I don't understand it.
Right.
Like, why would I go to cloud? Once they've gotten over that hump, the biggest issue is absolutely security, and more specifically, data protection. So the security issue is, where is my data going to be? What's the data retention policies? How do I know you're going to protect it as much as I would protect it, right? Because I don't have control of that.
Right.
And so it's absolutely an issue. And there's some key things that you can look at when you're evaluating a cloud vendor to make sure that your data is secure. Things around compliance. Are they PCI DSS compliant? Are they SAS 70 Type 2 compliant? Those are very stringent controls that if that vendor has those compliance mandates that they adhere to, you can be pretty sure that your data is being protected at the highest common denominator. But you need to look across the entire thing, the application, the infrastructure. Sometimes people forget that a cloud solution is still a data center somewhere, right? Somebody is still managing that data center. What is their security around access to the data center, the network security, just like you would your own infrastructure. You look end to end at everything they're doing around security, control, and compliance.
Okay, so on that note, what do companies, what sort of criteria do companies need to consider before they make that decision to go to cloud?
It's a great question. I think there's a few key things. The first one is actually not about security, but is about core competence. Okay. So let's say that integration is your challenge. It's very complex, it's hard. You've got to manage connections and mediation and transformation. So is that something your IT team is really good at? And if so, great, then build it yourself and manage it yourself. But if not, then start to look at some vendors that you can outsource that to. Because a lot of times a cloud solution includes outsourcing, right? We don't talk about that, but it's usually an outsourced situation. So core competency is a huge one. I think also budget. It's a reality that we're not yet out of the economic distress. So do you even have any capital expenditure budget to deal with, right? And if you don't, that might take the solution, right there you need to go to the cloud because, your line of business can help share the expense if it's a subscription as a service type pricing as opposed to some huge upfront expense. You should also look at what the impact is on your business, on your top line, your bottom line, on your customers potentially. Right. Can you afford to outsource this, or is this so strategic to your business? Do you need to keep control? And then finally, time to market. Is this an initiative that needs to be implemented within weeks or a few months? Chances are then you probably should be looking at it as a service platform because your ability to do that with on-site infrastructure, getting new servers, new software, training everybody how to use it, implementing it, testing it is going to be quite challenging within that time frame.
Okay, interesting. And how do you see cloud evolving into 2011 and beyond?
That's a great question. I think there's going to be a few things. One is that I am seeing cloud vendors, large and small, start to unite for security. There's the Cloud Security Alliance,
right.
Which is made up of corporations and vendors, and I think you're going to start to see more cooperation. We're not going to get to standards. I'm not quite that optimistic, but
okay.
I still think there's going to be more cooperation around some standard compliance issues, some ways to view security consistently across solutions. So I think that's goodness, because it will help people have guidelines of what to look for and certain criteria that all vendors must adhere to. I think we're also going to see people more and more realize that they shouldn't start with the cloud. They're becoming more cloud savvy. They're understanding that it's got to adhere to the same security requirements and features and functionality of any on-premise. So we're going to get beyond the hype a little bit more into reality. And I think those are going to be two key trends that we see next year.
Okay, great. Yeah, people are certainly, here to educate themselves at Cloud Expo. So we appreciate you being here, Margaret, to talk about HubSpan. I've been speaking with Margaret Dawson, VP of Product Management at HubSpan. Margaret, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
I'm Erin Harrison at the Santa Clara Convention Center at Cloud Expo.